Impeach Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's right. These two individuals and those that work within their administration are implementing policies that are disastrous for this country. And although some people think that this administration is incompetent, I think there are aspects of it that are incompetent. But all the things that are going on in this country and around the world are intentional. So let's talk about why these people deserve to be impeached. But first of all, let's talk about how we know this is most likely not going to happen. So I'm going to get into why it probably won't happen. And then after I talk about that, I'm going to talk about why it should happen. So why should it happen? Why should Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and their minions be removed from office? Well, the main job of the federal government is to protect the country. The president, and you might want to do some air quotes when you say that, or put an asterisk beside the titles these people are given. The president is supposed to be the commander-in-chief. Well, he's not supposed to be. He is. Even though this clown doesn't behave as such. But the main job of the federal government is to protect the country, to provide for the common defense. They're supposed to protect the citizens and secure the border. This administration is actively doing the exact opposite. This administration continues to aid our enemies. First, they armed up the Taliban, and now they are providing fuel to China. Not to mention a bunch of other stuff that we'll get into that hurts the U.S. but helps China. And in the process, of course, lines the pocketbook of the Biden crime family. This administration is also attacking the rule of law. Why would they do that? Well, we all know that they want to destabilize our economy, our justice system, and the country as a whole, and destroy the continuity of our culture and our society so that they can implement their agenda. And like I said, they are destroying our economy, and they are doing this destruction of our economy in the name of the climate hoax. So let's get into these things here. First off, we're going to talk about what's going on in the world and what this administration is doing in regards to foreign policy and border security. So on day one of this current administration, it began dismantling all the policies and thus all the gains of the Trump administration in regards to border security and illegal immigration. Now, the senile individual appointed I'll just call her Kamala. I could, sling all kinds of insults, but for right now, I'll refrain. He put her in charge of the border crisis, although I don't think they ever acknowledge that it's a crisis. This administration, from the likes of Jen Psaki to the black lesbian, and the different secretaries such as Cocksucker Buttigieg and Mayorkas, and including the potato head himself and his VIP. They're busy gaslighting America. These people, just like all the other leftist Dems, they live in a fantasy world. And they're basically trying to tell you that that fantasy world is factual. But Kamala in charge of the border crisis, and the problem has only gotten worse. We have the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, this Mayorkas guy. He denies the reality on the border. He'd tell you the border is closed down, just like the black lesbian always says. No problem. And in doing what they're doing, this administration is protecting the drug cartels. So the drug cartels are trafficking not only drugs, much of which comes from China, they're trafficking human beings. So, administration don't care about this stuff. So you got all this fentanyl coming to the U.S. We had a problem already with fentanyl getting here from China, but with that southern border wide open, the flood of people also includes a flood of drogas. So you got hundreds of thousands of Americans dying from use of these drugs. And you got the United Nations come out with the report saying that the U.S.-Mexico border is the most dangerous land route in the world. What is this administration doing? They keep implementing stuff to exacerbate the problem. So all three of these clowns, Mayorkas, Kamala, and Biden, they need to be removed. So let's move on to what this administration did over in Afghanistan. I'm sure that when it was happening, I was livid. I don't think I had a channel at that time, but I probably talked about Afghanistan situation in some of my older videos. But like I said before, a bunch of my videos I took down because I think that I had a warning from the old YouTube telling me that I'm no bueno, right? So instead of risking getting multiple strikes against me, I threw a bunch of my videos over onto Rumble. But anyways, we had that disastrous surrender in Afghanistan, and some people say, "Oh, well, Trump was gonna do that too." Well, Trump's plan had I'm having a brain fart here, folks. But Trump's plan wasn't going to just skip on out unless certain criteria was met by the other side. But when this administration came into the office, they dropped all that and just, tucked tail and said, we need to get the hell out of there. So now you got the administration sending, first they armed up the Taliban, right? And a bunch of those weapons, high-tech weapons, Taliban didn't keep a hold of all of them. They sold them off to the highest bidder, and we don't know where those went. I'm sure into the hands of other terrorists because, I consider Taliban to be terrorists. They're closely affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Articles I've read basically said Al-Qaeda and Taliban are so interwoven, they're one and the same. But needless to say, I'm sure that Russia and China bought some of the weaponry from the Taliban so that they could reverse engineer it. Because contrary to what some people say, the U.S. is still ahead in technology, at least in certain areas, compared to our opponents around the world. But now you got this administration, even though our economy in the U.S. is no bueno. You got the administration sending tons of buku bucks, arming up Ukraine allegedly, but they're not tracking these weapons at all. These weapons, once they get into Ukraine, we have no idea where this shit's going. And there's already reports that Ukraine is selling these weapons off to, we have no idea who. I mean, Ukraine, from what I've gathered, has been a long time place where arms dealers go there, and now we're getting all the stuff from us. We don't know where these things are ending up. So you got international arms dealer business is booming into Ukraine right now, arming up all the enemies of the United States, whether that be terrorists or foreign countries that are our opponents. You know, and you got the likes of the swamp uniparty in Congress. They didn't fund a border wall, but now that Ukraine's border was crossed, they're funding buku bucks for the Ukraine. You know, you got the likes of all these Democrats and these rhinos. You got that sorry ass Lindsey Graham. That guy gets up there and, you know, runs his fucking mouth on Fox News. He ought to get the fuck off Fox and go stick the cock back in his mouth. But anyways, we all know that the swamp wants to keep the money laundering going on over there in the Ukraine. The ruling class is actively harming American citizens and the economy of the United States because it benefits them. They don't give a rat's ass about the American people. Oh, and speaking of Ukraine, you know, are we on the road to World War III? Who knows? But if we are, the history books are going to say that World War III started back when Russia crossed the border. You know, there's no bueno when Russia crosses the Ukrainian border, but the invasion we have on our southern border by millions of people from countries all over the world. We don't know who the hell these people are. An awful huge percentage of them appear to be military age men. Wake up. So you got NATO building up, increasing its rapid reaction force by like tenfold. You got Germany saying it's going to arm up, increase spending on its military. You know, an armed Germany last century, even up until earlier part of this century, an armed Germany terrified the shit out of people, most Europeans. But now, you know, because of the situation, and then you got NATO further expanding. You know, I'm not opposed to that. Some of these things I think should have probably happened a while back. But all I'm saying is you got all kinds of military buildup going on around the world. You got, I've heard reports of Department of Defense is buying up all the medical equipment in this country. You know, it's countries are preparing for something. And with regards to Ukraine, you got some people saying, oh, we have to stop Putin in Ukraine or it's Hitler all over again. Well, I don't think so. You know, is Hitler, is Putin going to continue going into other countries? I'm not saying he is or isn't, but what I'm saying is U.S. doesn't need to be dropping buku bucks into Ukraine to stop Putin. You know, I'm not a fan of Russia going in and invading that country, but Ukraine, their democracy is, it's not much of a democracy, I think. You know, I think it's at least a corrupt one. You got them banning the opposition party and putting things in place where you can't get up and speak out against any of the corruption of the Ukrainian government. You know, it's hard to think otherwise than that the powers that be in this country right now are basically, you know, trying to protect their money laundering scheme over there in Ukraine. But, you know, if Ukraine was a NATO country, then obviously that's a different story. You know, so if Russia decides to invade one of the Baltics or Poland or whoever is a NATO country, that's a different story. Then you do need to stop him because otherwise you're not backing up what you're saying in these treaties. So, you know, the argument that, oh, it's Hitler all over again, doesn't hold water with me. But, you know, doing what we're doing, a lot of people says that the U.S. and NATO kind of forced Russia into doing some of what it's doing. I don't know about that, but I think a lot of our policies is driving Russia into the arms of China, and could be, some say, you know, hey, you got woke bullshit going on here in the U.S., and Western Europe, there's a lot of countries that aren't aligned right now that we might be driving those countries to get closer with Russia because they got traditional values. You've got countries that have traditional values. They align more with at least the words coming out of the Russian government's mouth, right? Because what's coming out of the United States right now is men can menstruate, men can get pregnant, women are men, men are women, kill babies up until the point of birth and sometimes even beyond that. And, white people are racist oppressors and non whites are a bunch of victims. All this woke bullshit. And, you know, traditional people are going to take a look at that and say, I'm going with these guys over here. But, Russia recently cut off natural gas to Germany. So how is things going to escalate more in Europe? We'll see, They could be cutting off all of Europe next. And, Trump, he told those folks at the United Nations, I think it was, or EU meeting or something, telling the Germans, you got too much energy coming from Russia and you're relying on this country for energy. And this is a country that we're protecting you from. And those asshole crowds were sitting there laughing. Well, fast forward to today. Who's laughing now, you fucking Nazi scumbag Germans? Not that I think they're Nazis, but they're just assholes. But anyways, what else we got going on here? We got food crisis going on. Part of it due to various policies that leftists implemented. This whole fucking climate change hoax going on that President Sri Lanka created the situation he's got going on in his country. And yeah, the Russia-Ukraine war exacerbated things. But if you got the food crisis going on because of the Russia-Ukraine war and you're the fucking Netherlands government, why would you tell your farmers to stop farming? That doesn't make sense. Oh, there's a food crisis, impending doom. Stop growing food. That's a no bueno. That's ridiculous. So now you got the farmers in the Netherlands uprising. Meanwhile, the U.S. government, for how long? I don't know if it's still going on. They pay farmers not to farm in a lot of cases. But now you got people in Poland, Italy, Germany joining the Dutch farmers in protesting. And it's not just farmers. They got fishermen. They got, I think it was a bunch of different sectors in these different countries rising up. And now you got, I think it was... you got Boris Johnson resigning. You got, I think, the government in Italy being pressured. They may have already stepped down by now. Things are getting wild. So let's take a look at what's going on between the good old Uncle Sam and Uncle Joe, the corrupt motherfucker Biden, and his corrupt administration, where he likes to help out the CCP and not you and me. So you got the Department of Justice refusing to prosecute Chinese spies. And they say because to do so, they would have to reveal sources and methods during the trial. Well, here's the thing, Department of Justice. If you never prosecute anyone, your sources and methods are meaningless. Then you got Trump. He's rolled back the Trump. I wish it was Trump in office. You got Biden rolling back the Trump tariffs against China. And Joe's there trying to claim that, he wants to fight inflation. So he removed these. If he wanted to fight inflation, all he has to do is stop his war on fossil fuels. The supply of fuel will go up and the prices will go down, and the price of fuel affects the price of everything, and fossil fuels are also involved in fertilizer. So there's another aspect that would cause the food prices to go down, not just the transportation of the food, but the growing of it. And if you had more fertilizer, you get higher output. Sri Lanka, case in point, they got rid of all the uh, chemical fertilizers and insecticides, and this year the crop output paid the price. So, Biden, I'm going to cut these tariffs to fight inflation. Well, you really cut the tariffs to help your buddies over there in the CCP. And then he got the strategic oil reserve that he's fucking around with. And he's not the first president to tap into the strategic oil reserve to try to lower gas prices. What? Newsflash. It has zero effect to minimal effect, and it's usually a very short-term impact. And the strategic oil reserves are not made to manipulate prices of fuel in hopes that it impacts your polling in a positive way. The strategic oil reserve is for things like war, natural disasters. And to put the icing on the cake, this motherfucker sent a bunch of that goddamn oil to China via a company that his son is either currently or previously invested in. If that's not aiding and abetting your opponent, I don't know what the hell is. This guy needs to go. And then as the shit hits the fan in Sri Lanka, it's been spreading to other countries around the world. North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Argentina, Armenia. People are sick of this shit. The ruling elite fucking shit up. Let's move on and talk about how the left is attacking the rule of law. So this nation's known for the rule of law. We have law and order in effect, and it helps to create a stable society so that we can flourish and prosper. But when you got the likes of Biden and Kamala and the rest of their scumbag associates in the administration and the members of their political party and other Dem politicians, Congress members, and senators attacking the SCOTUS, undermining the Constitution, not enforcing the law that says you're not allowed to protest outside the House as a Supreme Court justice. This is an attack on the rule of law. Then you got these leftist DAs backed by Soros, and you got this what's that scumbag's name? The guy who they wanted to appoint, Merrick Garland, Attorney General, head of the Department of Justice. Between him and these Soros DAs around the country, they're undermining the rule of law. Let's take a look at some of these things that they've been doing in the last handful of years. These Soros DA and the current Attorney General. They prosecute the likes of the McCluskeys and this bodega guy and the parents that went to school board meetings to voice their opinion about CRT and the grooming going on in schools. They allow violent offenders to get out of jail free. You got Kamala paying bail for some of them. They go after the J6 trespassers, but they ignore terrorists such as BLM and Antifa. Of course, they want to undermine the rule of law. Now you got a bunch of people that are going to sit down and shut up because they're afraid that they're going to be persecuted and prosecuted for voicing a different opinion. This is not the American way. This is the way of tyrannical governments throughout history. We need to get rid of these people. Let's talk about the economy. We got inflation. We got a recession. We got the current administration and the Dems in Congress actively implementing policies and measures that destroy our economy. And then they constantly lie about it. You got Joe, blah, blah, blah. My God. I think he really believes this shit because he doesn't know his ass from the hole in the ground. The guy was never the sharpest knife in the cupboard, but now he's out to lunch because of senility. Oh, and then you got the media and the Dems. They want to get the boot to this guy because they're afraid he's going to cause them to lose the White House. But, you know, oh, he's too old. He's too old. He's not too old. He's too leftist and too stupid and too senile. But, you know, a lot of us were saying all this back in 2020. You know, if the dumbasses didn't vote for this guy, you know, I don't think the numbers they say are accurate. I think there's a lot of shenanigans going on. But it was close enough to where the shenanigans was allowed to happen. You know, so I think that if it weren't close, it's easier to do the fuckery. But that's not what this video is about. Let's get back to you know, the gaslighting they do. Biden and Kamala and Jen Psaki and the black lesbian constantly lying and telling you, hey, we got the greatest economy ever. And that inflation's good. Inflation's transitory. Inflation's Putin's fault. Not a goddamn word of truth comes out of these assholes. And the media, oh, yeah, I lost my thought. I was talking about how the media and the Dems are saying that Biden's too old. He ain't too old. He just, you know, there are people that are his age or older that still got it all together. So it's not that he's too old. It's that he's too senile and too stupid and too leftist. And they sold him as a centrist because they knew the other people couldn't win because they were openly leftist. And this guy, he's obviously a puppet because you look out his career. He's never, back when he was a senator, he sucked and he was corrupt as shit. He was probably criminal. But, you know, a lot of his policies were not this woke bullshit, because this woke bullshit wasn't a thing back when he was a senator. At least not to the extent it is now. I don't know when all this woke bullshit started. I mean, it took over gradually. I mean, I remember freshman year in college, fall of '88, and seeing the shit that I saw on campus, and I was like, man, there's PC crap everywhere. It drove me nuts. But anyways, you know, he's a puppet for the left. They installed him in there because they knew he was able to be controlled, and we got what we got. So, you know, am I saying that we need to get? Well, I am saying we need to get rid of him. What I'm saying is, assuming that the Republicans take over the House and the Senate, I think I meant to touch on this earlier, but let me get into it here. You got a red wave coming, allegedly, you know. Do I think it's going to happen? It'd be ridiculous if it didn't. But if it doesn't, it's because you know that there's election shenanigans going on. And, you know, do I trust the elections? I don't know. But let's set that aside and just assume that they're not manipulated. You know, that might be a fantasy land proposition. But let's talk about after this red wave. Are the Republicans going to have the balls to do the right thing and impeach these scumbags? I doubt it, because there's not enough Republicans with any balls, any integrity, and there's too many rhinos in there. So, you know, but back to the talking about the economy, right? You got Biden and Kamala and the black lesbian. They get up there and tell you how great the economy is, right? And then when they do say that there is a problem, they don't admit it, is because this administration, energy policies and economic policies are a lot of the blame. They put all the blame on Putin, and you know, Biden gets up there and says, "Oh, we're on a war footing, so Americans are going to have to pay the price at the pump, and with inflation, as long as it takes to win the war." Well, a lot of people are saying that Ukraine can't win this war. It's a war of attrition, basically, and like I said on a previous video, Russia has the larger population. Who could just keep throwing more and more soldiers to die to accomplish whatever his goals are. Ukraine, eventually they're going to run out of people. They probably won't run out of equipment because the dumbasses, scumbag people running this country keep sending stuff over there. I saw something the other day talking about all the different NATO countries arming up the Ukraine, and is once again just disproportionately huge money and arms coming from the U.S. compared to other countries. But I mean, that's kind of understandable because we have a lot bigger population and a lot bigger economy. But I don't know if it was commiserate, if the ratio of our population and economy to what we were giving Ukraine. I'd have to look into that. But anyways, so that's what we got going on with this current administration, destroying our economy, intentionally doing so in the name of the climate hoax. So that's what I'm going to get into now. I kind of wonder what was the bigger hoax as far as the cult of I call it the cult of fantasy, right? Because they had a fantasy that COVID was a fucking Black Death, and they have a fantasy that the climate change is going to kill us. And their predictions, we should all be dead by now. But, they have to keep moving the goalpost because the predictions never come true. But let's talk about the climate hoax situation going on here. Modernization was built on fossil fuels. Before industrialization, the standard of living for humans, it ain't nothing like what it is now. And that's, a large part due to capitalism, but even more so the use of fossil fuels, I think. And the war on fossil fuel in the name of the climate, what it really does is destroy the economy. And this is all intentional. I think most of these climate cultists believe the bullshit they've been sold. You do a little bit of research, and I think I've mentioned some books and some authors that explain some of this stuff before. I can't recall the names off the top of my head right now, but they're out there. They talk about all the benefits of fossil fuels and how the ill effects of it are basically being exaggerated, or as some people like to say, over exaggerated. That's one of my pet peeves, over exaggerated. But they're willing to destroy our economy because those people that really know what's going on and still want all this, they know it's going to destroy our way of life, and then they can step in and implement what they want to implement. Your Schwab types and the World Economic Forum. So, but then you do have this administration doing curious things. They recently approved billions of dollars for airports. Billions of dollars for airports. The fucking jet fuel, isn't it destroying the climate? So what the fuck? Anyways, Joe says that Americans are going to have to keep paying the price until that war is won. But that's not what this shit's about. This shit's about destroying the economy so that they can take more power and implement their bullshit agenda. Anyways, this has gotten to be a rather long video. I had a lot to say, but hopefully those fall elections aren't too fucked with, and that some of the folks that get put in office can have a pair, have a spine, and do what they need to do. You know, because don't impeach Biden because then we got Kamala. I don't give a rat's ass. Impeach her then. Impeach them both together. Get rid of them. But I'm going to wrap this up. I don't know if you could hear that. Some jackass outside my window with the fucking blower. So if you hear noise, that's what that is. Anyways, folks, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I'll catch you all on the next one.